Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Art of MMA. I'm Mike Ginn. That's the mechanic, Brandon Cuttino, back for another action-packed episode. We got 4 cards to preview and make picks for to follow your lead dog still. Though me and Brandon, neither one of us did great last week because of all the questionable things that happened. We'll talk about that later. Of course, we'll briefly talk about Bellator 277 as well as Vegas 51, get our thoughts on that before jumping into everything. And then here we are, Brandon. Once again, one of our segments is going to be on MMA judging thanks to the AJ McKee and Pitbull situation. So make sure to get all that. But first, got to take care of some business, pay the bills. FightersFirst.shop. Brandon's got his shirt on. I got the Art of MMA. Just saw Brandon put in a big order, so you'll see him rocking all the new shirts as well soon, including his dope-ass mechanic shirt. So check all that out. Go over to FightersFirst.shop. Get the latest from Art of MMA, all the shows on the network, all the fighters we represent, more and more added all the time. FightersFirst.shop. All right, Brandon. Man, where to begin? Last weekend was crazy. We had Bellator 277, which was an epic show with a lot of crazy stuff that happened. We had UFC Vegas 51, which had, in my opinion, kind of an upset. Neither one of us picked Belal Muhammad, but he came out. He had a great strategy. He executed it, the takedowns and everything. Before we get to Bellator, let's go ahead and start with Vegas. What did you think of that show?
Yeah, man. Belal Muhammad came out with a smart game plan. That's really what you could say about it. Was a smart game plan. It's one of the things that I always tell my students is you never want to be a stationary target. You always want to be a moving target, and that's what Belal Muhammad was. He was moving around, picking his shots, keeping Luque off, with his jab or his jab cross. He was switching his stance, which definitely did confuse Luque, because Luque even said it after the fight that the switch dancing threw him off. So that was one. So that
which
was
is weird because Luque was switching stances too.
Yeah, but the thing too was like kind of Luque really wasn't doing anything with it. Like I felt like he was just watching a Belal Muhammad. And Belal Muhammad was kind of dictating the pace, and then of course he was getting his takedowns. He was basically getting one takedown around. Got that takedown. He had established position. He had control, which is good. The only thing really about Belal Muhammad, like I think that would make him even more dangerous, was if he really added submissions to his game, because kind of you saw what Luque was like. He would give up his back. But that's because you knew, just like Kobe Covington, they're just using it to just control you. They're not really threatening a submission or anything. So you can kind of give up your back and try to get up. While you go with somebody like an Aljamain Sterling, you give up your back, they're going to try to get you with a submission. But Belal Muhammad, he's just really going to control you, throw some punches. And I said, I think he just
Luque really didn't have any trouble getting back to his feet a lot of times because he knew if he turned over, it wasn't going to be like lights out. And yep. Belal Muhammad's just more of a ground and pound dude. But like I said, his strategy was on point. He did what he's supposed to do and came in there. He got the wrestling, which Luque has really good takedown defense. Not this time. Like he caught him off balance with the changing stances, like you said. It was a good thing. And then over in the co-main event, we had more like drama for the second time that night, right? So we go back, we talk about the Chris Barnett fight where Chris Barnett got hit in the back of the head. They ruled that a technical decision with the illegal blow. And then here's this fight. Moralo, Damian Maia, protege, so he was never worried about Omar Gachi's grappling. He was controlling the first 2 rounds, hit the illegal knee, stopped the fight. And your boy, Dan Miragliotta, once again went to the scorecards. And here's the thing that blows my mind, and it blew the announcer's mind too. It wasn't just me. Daniel Cormier said the same thing online. If you take a point, you therefore realize right off the bat that was an illegal, intentional blow. He said after the fight he knew he had at least a finger down, which was right there admitting that it's illegal, because it doesn't matter if it's one finger or a whole hand. It's still illegal in Nevada. And then on top of that, he threw the knee that finished the fight. Peter Yan would love to have that been a technical decision last year, right? Because that's what it is. And we've seen this both ways. We've seen it with the Peter Yan situation where he got disqualified. We saw it with Eric Anders and Darren Stewart where it went to a no contest. This is the first time I've ever really seen it go to the scorecards. What do you think of that whole situation?
I want to say all three situations. I think it all really depends on the ref. It depends on what the ref wants to do. But you obviously saw Big Dan. He didn't want to DQ anybody, so he didn't do it. But plus two, like I feel like saying, like I said, I mean, I'm not Big Dan. I don't know what he was thinking. You know, like I said, you saw the Peter Yan one. You know that was Mark Smith. That was a different ref. You saw him earlier in the night. Man, he wasn't messing around. He was taking points away left and right, warning people. You know, like I said, every ref is different. Every judge is different.
And even the Eric Anders situation was Herb Dean, who I criticize a lot. But I'd rather have been a no contest than give somebody a win for doing something illegal.
Yep. So like you said, you got three different refs, three different outcomes.
And then, but it was like you said to me on because I hadn't watched the earlier fights when I saw this happen. And like you said to me, just like earlier in the night, same thing, same ref.
Well, yeah. Well, with that one, apparently what I think Big Dan was trying to say was that Barnett had turned his head. So that's why it became an illegal strike, was because he turned his head away from that elbow. So, I mean, if you want to go with that situation, I can agree. I can go with that one. You know, if somebody's turning their head, that's how you get the back of the head right there.
Well, see, that makes sense, right? Because then you could say it's accidental.
Yep.
But you ruled this one intentional.
Yep. Yeah,
if it's intentional, it doesn't matter who's winning the fight. It doesn't matter who's done all the work. If it's intentional, and I think we all can kind of admit that, and funny enough, even Sterling kind of chimed in on this a little bit. He's like, I guess his acting skills aren't as good as mine. The doctor said that he could continue and he chose he couldn't. But you really don't know what's going on in a fighter's brain. A lot of people bash me when I bash Sterling for not going. Well, it's the same thing on the other side. You know, if you're going to take that side, because I think Omar Gachi could have continued. He chose not to because he was losing the fight. But at the same time, if you're going to defend Sterling, you got to defend Omar Gachi because it's the same thing. He took a knee. He took a long time. Decided he couldn't continue. You know, he did catch it flush. He did. It wasn't like a little cheap shot. He got hit.
Yeah.
So I question Dan's reffing skills on that one. I've been questioning a lot of things he's been doing lately. We just did the whole top three refs, and I definitely put him in among the worst. And I know Brandon gave me shit about that. How I hate on the dude already. But
hey man, the missus,
bro.
The missus love Big Dan Miragliotta, right? I can't bash Big Dan. The missus love him, so I kind of got a spot for Big Dan.
So should I trade you for your wife? Should I have your wife on the show instead?
Hey man, she'll be able to drop some knowledge on you.
I bet she would. She'd probably be a lot better co-host too. But I'll let you hang around for a few more weeks. Anyway, we both went 1-1-1 on that card because we both got the main event wrong. We both got you got this one right, but then you got your main pick wrong but Beza lost to Fiala, who came out, got the big TKO.
He got put to sleep. I mean, I knew both those guys were gonna come and bang. I just thought my pick was gonna bounce back. Like I said, you know, he was on a 2-fight losing streak. I just kind of thought he was gonna bounce back. But hey, man, that's what happens when guys are throwing. You know, sometimes you get caught. He got caught.
And then my dude Pat Sabatini continues to roll 30-26 on a lot of the scorecards. Like TJ Laramie's no joke. Like he's a tough dude. Pat Sabatini just took care of business. Devin Clark with the big knockout. Your girl Buena Silva got the win. Dakar Close, first time he's been in action for I guess almost 2 years now after that Jeremy Stevens push. He came back, got the knockout. Says his neck is still not right. He's just fighting through it at this point. We talked about the Chris Barnett situation. Jordan Levitt got the split decision win. So far in 3 fights, we've seen him get a knockout, get a quick loss, and now win by split decision. He's given us a little bit of everything to talk about every time. And the only other thing you can talk about is his twerking skills, but I'll leave that up to Brandon to decide. I won't touch that one.
That's DC thing, man. DC. I mean, Daniel Cormier. He was enjoying that one.
Sam Hughes got the win, and then also I told you, Alatang, man, he's a fun fighter to watch, and he got that big knockout to start the show. So that was UFC. Over in Bellator, we'll wait to talk about the main event in just a minute. There's a little segue tease for you folks at home. Stay tuned. Don't tune out just yet, and you'll hear our thoughts on that one. But in the co-main event, there's a lot to talk about because Corey Anderson was getting the better of Nemkov with the takedowns, right? We talked about Nemkov being able to fight wrestlers with Phil Davis and Bader, but Corey Anderson, he said he was better than them. He kind of showed it. But I will say one thing, like we've known Nemkov, especially over his last few fights, like rounds 3, 4, 5, he comes alive. Like late in the fight, he's come back. He come back against Bader. He came back late against Phil Davis and kind of took over. He's been knowing, even on Likas, he kind of struggled a little bit early, came back and knocked him out in the 4th round and finished him with a ground and pound. So I didn't want to put Nemkov in the losing category because he could have had a chance to come back. But the accidental clash of heads busted him wide open. What did you think of that fight? Like how it was going up to that point?
Yeah, man. Like I said, I picked Corey Anderson. Like I said, I thought it was just his time. It was his moment. Like I said, he was looking good. Like I said, wrestling had the takedowns. Like I said, not all wrestlers are the same. Some guys are more Greco-Roman style. Some guys are just regular called freestyle, folk style. Really go for the double legs, stuff like that. So everybody has different ways of trying to work their takedowns. And then Corey Anderson's way is just different than how those guys are. Like a Phil Davis or a Ryan Bader. But yeah, I kind of had Corey Anderson up. I thought he was getting the better, even with the striking. I thought he was doing a real good job. He was holding his own.
I thought Nemkov was definitely winning the striking.
Yeah. Hey man, I guess we were looking at two different fights.
Let's be fair because I did pick Nemkov, but let's be fair. Corey Anderson was winning that fight.
Yeah.
He was winning with his takedowns. He was winning it, mixing his stuff up. But when they were on their feet going hand to hand, like especially the first round, like I had Nemkov winning the first round. When they were staying standing pretty much the whole round, I gave Nemkov the first round. I gave Corey Anderson the second round easily with the takedowns. And in the third rounds, he was taking him down again. He was mauling him again until he went jumping in, which I still don't understand why he did that. But he went jumping in, and then their heads clashed, and that was it. And it was kind of weird because it was like right after the elbow, so people weren't sure what busted him open until we saw the replays. But this guy might be on top of my list now soon. Shout out to Frank Trigg, because Frank Trigg did a phenomenal job, not only seeing that it was the headbutt, not the elbow, but because even Big John live thought it was an elbow. Josh Thompson on the table thought it was the headbutt, and they had to go back to the slow-mos to see, the elbow hit up top. Mm-hmm. But the headbutt hit right above the eye, and that's when, and it's kind of weird to even see Corey Anderson cry about the headbutt like after it happened because he's the one that kind of initiated it. Like you're the one that dove in. Nemkov didn't jump into you from the ground. But I think Corey was clearly winning that fight. I just don't know what would have happened because I just, Nemkov's earned the benefit of the doubt to at least see.
Yeah.
But I think it was going Anderson's way. Now we got to wait.
Like I said, they'll definitely run it back. Hopefully.
Well, they have to. They got to finish the Grand Prix.
Yeah. So, hopefully, maybe summertime. August or something. You got to give that cut time to heal up. So maybe come August.
Yeah, it might be a while because it's gonna be at least 6 months medically because of the cut. Remember what I joked about before? I was like, "What's going to finish first, the bantamweight one or the light heavyweight?"
Yeah.
I might not be wrong now. Might not be wrong.
Could have jinxed it.
Your boy Aaron Pico looked great though.
Yeah, man. That dude loves his body shots, man. He was definitely ripping those hooks off, But yeah, man, like I said, Pico, man, he brings the power, man. He looked good. Another W for him. Let's see who's next. I know he wants that rematch with Borix, so maybe he might get that next.
Yeah, shout out to Adley Edwards. He took the fight on a week's notice. He's a tough dude, but he took the fight on a week's notice, went 3 rounds, more you could ask for. Linton Vassell, with a huge victory over Tim Johnson. Miller over Gracie. My pick, Tyrell Fortune, got the big knockout over Raheem Cleveland. Definitely something to watch on the highlights if you haven't seen that one. Tyrell Fortune looked great. And it was just a fun card overall. Crutchmer got the win in that fight that we were talking about with Lombardo. It was going to be a close fight. He got that win, made it look good. But then that brings us to the main event. And we'll talk about the main event a second, and then it kind of segues into our next segment of MMA judging, which is kind of why I left it. But give me your thoughts on the main event. I'm not going to lead you. I'm not going to tell you anything. Just give me your raw thoughts on that main event, AJ McKee and Pitbull 2.
Hey, man, it was a good fight. Man, Pitbull definitely was more patient than last time. Like I said, the first fight, he kind of came out running, swinging. I think he had a lot of anger going on. I think this time he was a little bit more calm, a little more cool and collected. But I still thought he lost this fight. I had AJ McKee winning the fight. I think I gave him rounds 1, 4, and 5. And I believe I gave Pitbull rounds 2 and 3.
So, look, I picked AJ. My heart was clearly with Pitbull. I just didn't think he had a legit chance to win, especially after what I saw last time. And I'll tell you the biggest difference in this fight, and I had a 49, and saying that, I had a 49-46 AJ. Only round I gave to Pitbull was 2. 3, I didn't think he...
Oh, no. 3
was the guillotine.
Right?
Yeah, and 3, I didn't think he had the guillotine long enough. I think, for real, like, AJ controlled most of that round except for, like, the minute that he was in the guillotine. Everything else was AJ that round. And so I was with Big John. Big John and I actually kind of scored it exactly the same if you were following the broadcast. I agreed. I didn't think it was enough to steal that round. I think a lot of people judge MMA weirdly. Like, they judge it on these big events, but it's supposed to be like, you have 5 minutes. If you control most of that round, you should win that round, unless that big moment is so big, it just overwhelms everything else that happened. And that's very rare. First of all, I don't know how anybody gave Pitbull 49-46. Like, the scorecard that gave Pitbull 49-6, and I looked up trying to find the scorecards, and I really couldn't find it. But I did find the.
I did find.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was.
So Michael Bell is the one that gave the 49-46. I found that one.
Yep.
And he gave Pitbull the first 4 rounds.
Yep.
And the reason why that's so egregious is because round 4, Pitbull barely threw a punch. His arms were so tired after that guillotine in round 3. He barely threw any punches till the last minute of the 4th round. If you watch 4th round, he barely did anything. So how the hell do you give him the 4th round?
I was going to say the only judge that gave that gave AJ McKee the 4th round was Ron McCarthy, because even Derek Cleary, he gave the 4th round to Pitbull as well.
I don't see it. And I don't want to be conspiracy thinking, hey, AJ's once out of his contract. He doesn't want to be in Bellator anymore. Lose his fight, get the belt off him. Maybe we move on. But to only give AJ McKee the 5th round, when AJ came out faster, he came out with the kick across the cage. Round 2, I think you definitely got to give Pitbull. Round 3, I could see you giving Pitbull because of the guillotine situation. But rounds 4 and 5 were clearly AJ. And it's just, even Quentin Jackson said this was a bigger, we'll talk about that in a second because we're getting ahead of ourselves in the judging. So we'll go ahead and segue in just a second. But my opinion, AJ McKee got robbed. And the biggest problem with this fight, to me, if you're going to critique AJ for anything, is the first fight he came out so loose, so happy, so enjoying the moment. And he was, you talked about Pitbull being angry in the first fight. Look at AJ's face this fight. I watched the fight twice. He was so angry from the opening bell to the end. AJ McKee had this angry look on his face the whole fight. So completely different than the relaxed, smooth guy that we see in every other fight he's ever had. And I still think Pitbull lost his fight. But if there's anything that cost him the fight, I think it's AJ fighting more emotional because he really wanted to prove a point and prove that he was that dude. And then unfortunately, the judges didn't agree. And like they say, and we'll talk about this in just a second, you never leave it in the hands of the judges if you want, whatever. So,
I was gonna say AJ McKee's face said it all at the end of that fight. When they did the announcement, his face said it all.
I think his face said it for a lot of people, and I see a lot of people apologizing, like in defending what happened with Pitbull and blah blah blah. But all right, let's switch turn. Let's go ahead and jump into this MMA judging for the umpteenth time. I think I call this segment MMA judging continued. And you fill in the blank. We've talked about MMA judging so many times and so many shows and so across the network 1,000 times. Quentin Rampage Jackson lost his title on one of the worst MMA judging decisions that's been in history. And even he came out after this fight and said that this was the worst robbery in MMA history. The fact that 2 judges gave Pitbull round 4 when he barely threw a punch until the last minute of the round. He literally stood there like for 4 minutes. And AJ didn't do a lot, but he was instigating the contact and doing more than Pitbull. Round 5, Pitbull, you would think somebody whispered into Pitbull's ear and said, hey, you're winning this fight. Don't do nothing, because that's what it looked like. Everybody at home is screaming, Pitbull, you need to go out and get a finish to win this fight. And he's sitting there acting like he's protecting the lead. I thought he was crazy. Mm-hmm. But what do I know? Because clearly the judges were in the back pocket with somebody, because here we are. Round 1, I don't know how you can give it to anybody other than AJ. I think AJ came out. He controlled the pace. I think Pitbull was very patient. He was trying to counterpunch the whole time. He had a couple shots here and there. But round 1 was clearly AJ coming out and doing most of the action while Pitbull was kind of trying to stretch the fight out. I feel like he was trying to like make this go past the first round. He was trying to like, let's see if AJ can keep this energy up going into more rounds. Round 2, Pitbull came out on fire. Great round for Pitbull. Had AJ backing up a lot, counterpunching, landing. Good round for Pitbull. Round 3, AJ was controlling most of it until he got caught in the guillotine. And Pitbull had it pretty tight for a while. Some of the times you could see AJ was okay, but then he tightened it up a little bit. But then once again, that leads into round 4 where his arms were dead. His arms were dead, and he barely threw a punch in the 4th round. Brandon, have you, first of all, you already agree with me that this is a robbery, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would say that all 3 judges gave AJ McKee the 5th round. Like I said, the only thing that was a little different was, I think, McCarthy gave AJ 4 and 5, and then Derek Cleary gave AJ's 3 and 5. So he agrees with you about the 3rd round. Like I said, man, I mean, the only thing is, man, I just like these people online who are getting upset at Antonio McKee telling AJ that he was up 4-0. It's like, oh, why would you say that when it's a close fight? Well, obviously one judge had it 4-zip Pitbull, and of course nobody thought the fight was going that way. You were either thinking AJ was up maybe 3-1 or it was 2-2, but nobody except for this one judge to me had it 4-zip Pitbull. To me, this is why I go back to it again. That's why I say open scoring should be happening. This way we really know what's going on. That's why when Antonio McKee's trying to say 4-zip, he wouldn't say that. He'd be like, well, hey, this one judge has Pitbull winning it like that, and you're down on the card. So now AJ knows he got to turn up, you know? So to me, that's why, again, I just go with open scoring. Like I said, to me, MMA judging is always subjective. You know, that's why I know a lot of people get on the 10-point must system. It's so different. It's really made for boxing. It's not really for MMA, you know, because again, we talk about 10-9, 10-8 rounds, 10-10 rounds. You rarely see a 10-8 round in MMA. You rarely see a 10-10 round in MMA because nobody wants to do that. It's always going to be 10-9. And while in boxing, you know what a 10-8 round looks like. You knock somebody down, you're good. While we go with a week before with Aljamain Sterling, you know, about the round 2, a lot of people wanted to be 10-8, but none of the judges gave it 10-8. You know, So that's why to me it's like, I don't know if we can change the point system, get away from that, or again, I just say have open scoring because again, MMA judging is just subjective because like I said, some judges could favor heavily on low kicks. Some judges be like, oh, low kicks don't mean anything. Some people might put takedowns heavier than maybe submission attempts or getting back up because like, oh, well, you did get a takedown, but you didn't do anything with it. You know, to me, that's why I just say open scoring. At least you know where you are in the judges because, again, every judge is different. Just like we talk about, every ref is different. Everybody's going to be different what they do. Also, too, in MMA judging, we get the whole cameras. All the judges, they're at different angles. So maybe they don't see something that we
see what they see.
You know, so that's why I just go with, hey, let's have open scoring. This way you know where you are. You can't be like, okay, you're still gonna lose your mind because they're gonna be around where you're probably dominating. You think that you should have won that round, but the judges gave it to the other person. So we're still gonna have that, but at least maybe you'll know, all right, I gotta turn it up, you know, or have to do something. Because again, you go into a fight thinking that you're winning, you're trusting your cornerman, saying they're seeing something, but the judges are seeing something different, or they're weighing something that the judges aren't weighing in. That's why I think we need to have open scoring. You have open scoring, you know where you stand, you know where you know what you have to do to get your hand raised.
Yeah, I don't like you mentioned the Jan Sterling from a week ago. People might disagree with the decision, but they're not calling it a robbery. Like they're saying, you know what, it was close enough fight that all right, we see it both ways. Like I had it a draw.
Hey man, the Jan fans are calling it a robbery. Somebody somewhere is going to call a fight a robbery if their guy isn't winning.
Yeah, but you have enough fairness to say, okay, it was a close fight. We see both sides. The only robbery is whether you gave Sterling a 10-8 round or you gave him the first or a round or not. Like I gave Jan 1-4-5 and I gave Sterling a 10-8 in the second. And you could have argued a 10-8 in the third. So the judging could be all over the map for a fight like that. A fight like this, like, first of all, yeah, AJ McKee's dad was crazy for thinking it was 4-0. I thought it was 3-1 or 2-2 at best, just like you did. And then that just blew my mind the fifth round that Pitbull didn't come out with a sense of urgency. Like, he had to finish this fight. And he lost the fifth round on every scorecard, considering most people thought he was behind. He just didn't care until the last minute of the fifth round when he kind of turned up trying to do some action and trying to finish the fight. You could clearly see AJ's gas tank wasn't really equipped for 5 rounds. He was slowing down in the fifth round quite a bit, which led to the last minute of the round where Pitbull tried to almost steal the round the last minute. Last minute and a half was all Pitbull pretty much in the fifth round, but the first 3.5 minutes were all AJ because Pitbull didn't do anything. I think this was a huge robbery, and I think that I don't want to go down the conspiracy route, but I have to because we know AJ's contract situation. And we know Scott Coker is an old school booker from back in the day, overseas, here, kickboxing, K1. We've seen enough pride, all that stuff. We've seen enough shady business in a lot of those situations to know that it's possible. And I'm usually the one to say, don't talk about like that in today's MMA. We got all these commissions, all these boards. But you see a fight like this, that at worst, it was 2-2 going in the last round. No way somebody could have 4 rounds to none for Pitbull. And that to me is just, how much did he get paid?
That's why I say let's have open scoring. Open scoring, you'll know where you're at.
I agree with you. Either that or the one style of scoring. Like if you did the one style of scoring and Michael Bell came out and said, I thought Pitbull won this fight based on everything, then you can't really argue as much because you're like, all right, the guillotine and some of the counter punching and the way the things went between the rounds. I've never been on the 10-point must systems like you said against boxing system in MMA. I like the way one does it with who won the fight. Just a judge picks who won the fight. It's just that simple. You have 3 judges, you're going to have a winner, you're not going to have any draws. Who won the fight? If you even want to expand it, let's get rid of the 3-judge system. Let's go with 5 judges. Let's go with more judges. I mean, it's an octagon, right? There's 8 sides. The announcers are on 1. The cameramen are on 2 different sides. That still leaves 5 sides. Let's just throw more judges in there. Why do we have to copy the boxing system? MMA is its own thing. We've talked about this for years. Different judging, different system. I don't know why Pitbull didn't stop doing the leg kicks. Like, why didn't you just hammer the shit out of his leg? That was the most successful thing Pitbull was doing every round. And in the 5th round, he almost stopped. He barely threw any leg kicks that 5th round. He could have taken AJ's leg right out because at that point, AJ's leg was done. And he just stopped throwing it. And then if he finishes this fight, we're not having this talk, right?
Yep.
So, MMA judging again, what can we do? There's no solution. Open scoring is a great solution. One style of scoring is a great solution. The UFC is going to stick to the boxing system because that's the way Dana came up. That's the way these athletic commissions are wired. They've been wired for that way for over 100 years. They're not going to change easily. I like the open scoring more than not having a better system. Invicta does it just fine. I've seen other promotions do it just fine. I know PFL has flirted with it a couple times. Let's do it. Let's just run it out there. No more questions. AJ knows he's down 4-0 on a card. He's coming out trying to get a finish. And even if he gets finished, at least he knew he could go out on his sword instead of getting robbed and having that face like.
Yep.
So that is that. Leave a comment below. Tell us what you thought. Hey, do you think it was a robbery? Do you think it was legit? Tell us. And do us a favor. Let's add to this conversation. Tell us some of the greatest robberies you think have happened in MMA history. Drop some of that down below. Let's have some fun in the comments this week. Moving on, Brandon, we don't have any more segments to talk about and debate because we have a ton of cards to cover in not a lot of time. So we're going to try to breeze through some of these cards. We're going to start off with PFL opening up their season tonight on 420 of all nights. Hopefully their fighters pass the drug tests. But PFL opening up tonight. Main event is going to be Clay Collard versus Jeremy Stephens, making his debut. Then we'll also go ahead and talk about both Bellator cards and the UFC. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. PFL 1 for the 2022 season. Brandon, the second time Clay Collard is welcoming a UFC vet to the promotion. He handed Anthony Pettis a loss last year. What happens in this fight? And tell me why.
I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of leaning towards Jeremy Stephens, but I know how much you're a Jeremy Stephens hater, so you're probably gonna pick Clay Collard. I think I'm gonna go with you, man. I'm gonna go with Clay Collard as well. Like I said, you think about Jeremy Stephens. One thing that kind of does come up is shop worn. Somebody who's definitely been through a lot of wars, got that wear and tear. He just doesn't know it yet. And then, man, I mean, you see Clay Collard. You saw what he did to Anthony Pettis last year. I can see him doing the same thing to Jeremy Stephens. They keep trying to give him these big names, and he keeps rising to the top. So I'm going to go with Clay Collard, getting the job done. Heck, he might even get a stop. Because, like I said, he's a boxer too. He has that boxing experience. Jeremy Stephens like to think of himself as a boxer. So I mean, hey, you got two guys that are going to go out there. They're going to swing. Anything can happen, but I'm going to go with Clay Collard to get this W.
The number 6. That's how many fights Stephens is winless in his last 6 fights. If you want to throw out the accidental eye poke against Yair Rodriguez, that's still 5 losses in a row. Now, he fought a lot of tough dudes. Jose Aldo, Yair Rodriguez, Calvin Kattar, Gamrot. A lot of tough dudes. But this fight reminds me of back in the day when he was talking so much shit going into fighting Cowboy Cerrone. And I was actually at that card. I was at that card in Fairfax, Virginia, where he fought Cowboy Cerrone, where Cowboy Cerrone was running around the lobby of the hotel measuring wine glasses to see if his dad was telling the truth that the bottom of the glass is equal to the stem, and that's how it supports the weight of the glass. And he couldn't believe it. He was just, what? He was like measuring every glass. Also during the era where Cowboy wasn't drinking, so all he would have was like pineapple juice and stuff. Weird situation. Sorry to get sidetracked. But it reminds me of that fight because Clay Collard has a lot of the Cowboy tendencies, the leg kicks, the high kicks, the boxing, the straight punches. He doesn't have like the ground game the Cowboy has, but he has a lot of the striking the Cowboy has. And it kind of reminds me of that. And Jeremy Stephens is a smaller dude. Collard has the height advantage, the length advantage on him. I just don't see how Stephens gets in to do any damage at all on Clay Collard. I think Clay Collard's going to finish this fight pretty quickly, first or second round. I don't think it's even a question. I think Clay Collard's more on top of his game right now than Stephens is. Yeah, he didn't win the championship last year, but he came pretty close. I just don't even see this being a contest. I think Jeremy Stephens might not even show up for his second fight in the PFL. I think it's going to be one and done. That's my opinion. And then on to BKFC, like I keep calling him.
Man, just hating on the man.
Yeah, he buries himself. He asked the Iowa police how many times they've arrested his ass. Buries himself. Over in the co-main event, speaking of champions, Roush Manfio won his title last year, going against Don Madge, who's been kind of in and out of the MMA scene for a while. He kind of like fights a few times and he disappears for a couple years, comes back. Always super tough, super competitive. What do you see happening in this fight?
I'm going with Manfio, man. Like I said, he is the champ from last year, so he definitely got something to prove. Like you said, Don Madge has kind of been in and out, so I kind of want to say that Manfio has been more active. So he's still just he's just been on a regular buff. And plus, man, he comes from a good camp, hanging out. I want to say with the Pitbull brothers, So I mean, you definitely know he comes prepared. So I just think Manfio will get his hand raised.
Don Madge is such a hard dude to pick, right? Like, the dude's been fighting for a decade. But he only has, I believe, 13 fights or 14 with a draw. So 14 fights. He showed up in PFL late last year on the October card after not fighting for 2 years in the UFC. Like, he was in the UFC in 2019 and then left for 2 years, shows up in PFL card, gets the rear naked choke win over Nathan Williams. He's won 7 fights in a row, dating all the way back to 2015. He's very dangerous. Almost all of his fight wins are finishes. We know he can bring it. He's still only 31 years old. Roush himself is 30, but he's fought, 18 times and been very active. He beat Clay Collard. He beat Loic in the finals last year, beat Anthony Pettis, coming off one of his best years. He had that one hiccup against Sidney Outlaw back in 2018, but other than that, he's been on a serious roll as well. So this is a very tough fight for me to pick. But I'm actually going to go with Don Madge. And the reason being is that every time I've seen this guy fight, he's put on a show. Like, yeah, you got to go back 2019 against Diem where he got the unanimous decision. But before that, people forget he knocked Tay Edwards out cold. If you look on YouTube and follow any of his stuff from South Africa and stuff over in EFC, he stopped almost every dude he fought. And then he came to the big stage of the UFC and was doing the same thing. He's had injury problems. He's had other issues, a lot of stuff outside the cage. But, I'm going with the Magic Man in this one. I just feel like there's going to be an upset. We don't have a lot of time, so we're not going to talk about all the other fights on the card, but I will mention Shoeface in action against an up-and-coming Del Monte. That's going to be a fun fight. Nathan Schulte is going to look to get his crown back, fighting Alban Mercier. Emiliano Sordi's on this card. We have a lot of up-and-coming. We saw Martin Hamlet make some noise last year a little bit. Got some another up-and-coming, Simeon Powell's going to be on this card against veteran Clinton Williams. So a lot of fun stuff. Just because I know you love him so much, you think Shoeface wins?
Yeah. Shoeface, man, he to me, he's the best guy until he gets beaten.
Yeah, I mean, he won the title last year, like you said, 205. He just looks very, very comfortable and dangerous. And funny enough, the guy he's fighting is another submission guy, which is not like you don't want to fight Carlos Jr. in a submission game. I don't care how good you are, he's better. So I don't think that's a good situation for him. Make sure you tune in tonight. Season debut. Last year they had a hell of a show. All season long was pretty great. So let's see how the lightweights and light heavyweights put it on tonight. I think going forward, they're going to be mixing up some of the cards. Like they pulled Anthony Pettis off of this one to move him May 2nd. And they're going to be mixing some stuff up, which I think is going to be even more fun and eventful. It's because they're also going to do this little break in the middle and then move to Atlanta for the second half of the season because they're starting off in Texas. So should be interesting to see how they do the season this year. And they're not going to be in a little bit of a bubble. They're going to be kind of letting them go. So let's see. But that is that.
Texas.
What'd you say?
I said, yeah, they're in good old Texas tonight.
Texas, then Atlanta. I'm interested to see how the Atlanta one works out. Surprised they didn't go back to Florida for the second half, but things are opening up. So
are you gonna take a drive up there?
No, that's like 8 hours, 9 hours for me. No, thank you. Atlanta's not like coastal. Atlanta's like in state. Like there you go. No, thank you. Might as well be going to Tennessee at that point. No, thank you. Over in Bellator, they got 2 big cards coming up this weekend. Starting off with Bellator 278 on Friday night. Velasquez defending her title against veteran Liz Carmouche. Brandon, I got a lot of love for Liz Carmouche, but Velasquez undefeated. It's looked great. Who you got in this fight?
Man, I'm going with Carmouche. I am Gorilla. Man, like I said, I actually had Vasquez losing her last fight against my girl Denise Keholtz anyway. I actually thought Keholtz beat her. It was a close fight, but I don't know. I just feel I'm gonna see Liz Carmouche do what Liz Carmouche does, man. That's gonna muscle her, take her down, look for a submission, and there's your champion. But I could be wrong, but I'm going with Liz Carmouche still. Like I said, man, she's been on a tear ever since she got back to since she joined Bellator. So I think it's going to be Ann New.
Yeah, a lot of people look at her as like the older fighter, and yeah, she's 38. People don't realize Velasquez is 35. Like, she's no young chicken either. And I think Carmouche might be one of the first girls as long as she is, like as big and long as she is at that weight class. So, when she fought McFarlane and Keelholz, both of them were smaller girls compared to Velasquez. So this will be the first time somebody can like look eye to eye with her. And I think Carmouche, like I said, she's just kind of on a roll. This might be her opportunity. And I don't think she's going to let it pass. I'm actually with you. I think Carmouche is going to give Velasquez her first loss. And I think she's going to, wrap her up, wrestle her, use her jiu-jitsu, use some other stuff. And I think she's going to get this win. She's a veteran. She knows how to stay out of bad situations. And, she's super tough. She doesn't have any kind of back down in her, So I think it's going to be Carmouche's moment to finally shine. And I'm looking forward to it, hopefully. Over in the co-main event, you got Enrique Barzola versus Nikita Mikhailov. Surprised that's the co-main event. I thought maybe Lugo and Sabatello should have been, but don't make the decisions around here. Who you got in that fight?
I'm gonna go with Nikita to get this job done. I just think he's gonna be able to pull it off. He's kind of been doing this thing lately, so I just think he's gonna get his hand raised.
Yeah, I've had a very hard time. I've been going back and forth in this fight the whole time. Nikita's only 23 years old, still way up and coming. But Barzola just stopped Darian Caldwell. I'm just like,
yeah.
Tough decision. I think it's going to a decision no matter what, because both guys, more often than not, when they're in trouble, stretch it out to a decision. And Barzola has a couple of draws to his name, so he has no problem going the distance. But I'm gonna take Nikita too. I think Mikhailov is just more on the upward rise, and I think he's got the more momentum going into this fight. We did mention also there is Lugo versus Sabatello on that fight. Lugo undefeated 8-0, Sabatello 11-1. Something's got to give. These two kids are going crazy. Christian Edwards trying to bounce back from his first loss, going against incredibly tough Grant Neal. I think Grant Neal's probably going to take that one too. And Weber Almeida back in action. He finally bounced back, got that W, trying to get his momentum going back. Anything else you're looking forward to on that card?
No, man. I mean, I'm just looking for these. I guess you want to say these fight-in fights, to get into the Grand Prix for the 135. So, like I said, you're looking at that Lugo fight. You really kind of see what's going to happen with that one.
Yeah, I think Lugo's a star. I think Jornell Lugo is a star, but Sabatello's no joke.
Yeah, man, he's got that wrestling base, man. I think he said that his game plan is to take him down anyway and just drag him.
And as far as veterans go, Eric Perez and CJ Hamilton should be a fun fight too. Anybody's been following the game for a while. They've both been around for a little bit, especially in Bellator. I think it's going to be a fun fight. But should be a good card. It kind of leads into the next card. So that's Friday night. And then Saturday night, I mean, it's a busy couple of weeks coming up for Bellator because they also got next week too. But Saturday night, you switch over. Now we got Cyborg versus Blencowe too. The first time these two fought, Blencowe was having all kinds of travel issues. Didn't have a full camp at Jackson's. It was the first time she was working at Jackson's. Kind of a rushed camp. Went in. Cyborg took care of business because Cyborg does what Cyborg does. Does this fight go any differently than the first fight now that Blencowe's had a full camp, is fully Jackson trained and stuff?
I mean, you know me, man. I love me some Chris Cyborg, man. I love me some Chris Cyborg. I got Cyborg by however she wants it to be. Because remember, Blencowe was her first ever a submission win. So I mean, we already know that she could get on the ground, but I'm thinking this fight, man, it could be more stand up. I mean, Blencowe is a tough lady. Like I said, I've been a fan of hers too. On the come up when of course people always want to be like, oh, who can give somebody, who can give Cyborg, a run for their money. I always thought about Blencowe, so I think it will be different. It might, I guess I want to say last longer, but I still think Cyborg's getting her hand raised and it's going to be Ann still.
Yeah, I was thinking about this with Liz Carmouche. She consistently had trouble with Alexis Davis, right? Like Liz Carmouche could run through a lot of people, but Alexis Davis kept beating her. Um, this is the same thing with Arlene Blencowe. Like, other than Cyborg, the only person to beat her multiple times is Julia Budd. Like, she's run through a lot of people, but Julia Budd's the one that's constantly giving her trouble. The one thing and keep in mind, this fight was actually put together almost last minute too, because they were trying to put another rematch with Sinead Kavanaugh for whatever reason. Like, none of us at home could see why that rematch would happen because Cyborg ran through her. At least Blencowe lasted to the second round, and Blencowe is the number one contender. She's been the number one contender for a while. She just knocked out Diana Silva. She went the distance with Pam Sorensen, who's super tough, and won that fight pretty easily. She got caught in the rear naked choke with Cyborg in the second round. She gave up her back, which was a mistake because she was trying to get up. And Cyborg is a black belt in jiu-jitsu. People don't realize it because she's so good with her hands. But she is, Brazilian jiu-jitsu black belt. I'm gonna tell you right off the bat, I might get this pick wrong. I know the lead dog, I might get this pick wrong, but my heart is screaming Arlene Blencowe is going to get this win, because every time I see Cyborg kind of looking ahead to different things, like she lost to Nunez, that was a straight up fight, but I don't know. Like, I see her looking at how to get to Kayla and do that super fight. I see her how to maybe get back to Amanda and do that super fight. And she's not looking at what's in front of her, who's a very tough number one contender who's been fighting for a long time. If this fight goes to the ground, there's no doubt in my mind, Cyborg, believe it or not, has the advantage. But if it stays on their hands, Arlene Blencowe started off as a boxer. Back in New Zealand and Australia, she started off as a boxer. She just went to MMA because that was an avenue that was presented to her, and she kind of liked it. She started late in MMA at that. She's 38 now. So both these ladies are up there too. I think this might be Arlene Blencowe, just like Carmouche's. She fought to get her way back to Cyborg. This is what she wants. This is what she's been training for. She's had a whole camp at Jackson's. I tell you, man, I think this is Blencowe. I might be wrong. I've been wrong before, but I might be wrong in this one. But we'll see. I think it's Blencowe. Over in the co-main event, Juan Archuleta for Rafael Stotts. Rafael Stotts is going for the interim title and the debut of the bantamweight. So the title will be defended throughout the tournament as well, even though Sergio's on the shelf. It'll be an interim title defended starting off with this. A lot of people don't know that Stotts was actually scheduled to defend against, or to get a title shot against Sergio Pettis before all this kind of went down. And that was going to be the opening fight for the tournament. And then they moved things around. So now it's Archuleta versus Stotts, and it's going to be for the interim title as well. Who do you got taking this one?
I got Stotts because, I mean, he's been on a tear, and also too, this is a fight that he definitely won. I won't forget when he did his Insta story. He was in the elevator with Juan Archuleta and Patchy Mix, and he was just like, "Oh, look who it is! Look who it is! These guys have been calling him out. They've been ducking me, and he's been hanging out with them." So I think Rafael Stotts is going to show out. Hey man, big fan of Juan Archuleta. I love his role in Kingdom. So shout outs to him. But I think this is Rafael Stotts' tournament or Grand Prix to kind of showcase his skills and for everybody in the MMA world to really know who he is.
Yeah, we said it last week when we were kind of talking about it a little bit. I think it's Stotts and Mix aiming for the finals, in my opinion. I know you got Horiguchi in there, but I think Mix and Stotts are going to be on the path to meet. And I think Stotts is going to go through Archuleta just the way Pettis did. Like, he's long. He has those distance, those kicks. He can wrestle with you and grapple with you and use jiu-jitsu. He does a little bit of everything, and he's so athletic. And he puts you in like pretzel-like positions sometimes. It's just like this dude can do everything. And I think Stotts has a very big future in the MMA. And I think Archuleta, despite his success, I think is more kind of plateaued to where he is in the MMA world. And I don't think he's going down at all. I think he's still very tough and dangerous. But I think Stotts is the guy. And I think he's going to take home the interim title on Saturday. Also on that card, former champion McFarlane. We just talked about Velasquez. She's finally back in action. She just got her first loss against Velasquez. Well, now she's going to fight Justine Kish, which is going to be an incredibly tough fight. But I think they kind of drew McFarlane in with the ability to fight in Hawaii and fight at home. So we'll see what McFarlane wants to do, because she didn't seem very interested in fighting for a while after that Velasquez loss. So we'll see what's up with that. Real quick, this doesn't count unofficially because I kind of know who you're already picking because we just talked about it last week. But who you got, Horiguchi or Mix?
And
you went with Horiguchi before. I don't know why you're stumbling now.
Well, no, it's just like it is a tough fight, but I got Horiguchi. Like, to me, Horiguchi is still the best person. Like I said, man, he was beating Sergio Pettis, so Pettis got him with that back fist. So to me, Horiguchi is still, to me, one of the best 135ers out there until he gets beaten. Yeah,
I think it's gonna be a fun fight. I just like Patchy Mix's power. I think he can put you to sleep anytime, anywhere. So I think Mix is going to take that one. You got Lance Gibson Jr. in action. You got Yamauchi back in action after his fight was canceled against Derek Anderson a few weeks ago. They got him a new opponent. Emmanuel Sanchez versus Yancy Medeiros is in there. Any other fights on that card you're kind of looking forward to?
I mean, just Bellator always trying to do big when they go to Hawaii. So you know, they always go out. They always go out, and especially too when you have McFarlane on there, you know, as well. You know, with her walkouts, it's always good.
Yeah, Bellator is definitely setting the tone with ladies fights too this weekend because there is a ton of them. And following suit, our last card to pick before we get out of here today, this is definitely ladies' weekend this weekend. PFL's got the guys, but the ladies are dominating everything else. UFC, no different. We got Amanda Lemos versus Jessica Andrade in the main event on Saturday night. Who you got in that one?
I'm going with Lemos, man. You know why? Because she's been hanging out with Chris Cyborg. She's been training with Chris Cyborg. I mean, let's say, Andrade does have the power, but you can nullify her power. You know, if you take her down, you put that groundwork on her, she can be beaten. So I just think Lemos hanging out with Chris Cyborg definitely helped her out. Like I said, you know, she's been on a terror. You know, she's been on a terror as well. So I think Lemos is going to get her hand raised.
I'm going on Andrade, and I tell you why. Because one, I don't even think Lemos won her last fight. I thought Angela Hill won that fight, the split decision fight. For two, I mean, beating Ruiz is kind of cool. Like, Ruiz is kind of tough, but she still doesn't have anywhere near the level. You know, Montserrat Ruiz basically beat Cheyenne Bays with a headlock. But other than that, hasn't really beaten anybody. So I don't think she's really beaten anybody other than maybe Miranda Granger. And then you go back before that, she got knocked out by Leslie Smith. That was her loss. So I think there's vulnerabilities. Maybe Cyborg tightened all that up. Maybe you're right. But you look at Andrade, look at her losses. They were all champs.
Yeah.
She lost the belt to Weili. She lost the rematch to Rose by split decision. Wasn't even like a big dominant choice. I thought Rose won that fight, but you know, it was technically a split decision. And then she lost the title shot to Valentina. A lot of people have lost to those three women.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them. Being number 2 in those divisions behind them is not a bad thing. And I think that's where she is, because she just went out and just destroyed a super tough Cynthia Cavallo, who, I know Cavallo came out like overweight and stuff for that fight. She missed weight and stuff. But look, Andrade is a longtime vet. She's fought and beat a lot of tough names. She had the huge slam against Rose. She beat Chukagian. She beat Cavillo. She beat Carolina Kowalkiewicz. I can never say her name. Double K. Tisha Torres, Claudia Gadea. Like, all these names. And then her other loss before that is, Joanna Champion, Jadrzyk. So, if you're not a champion, you're not beating her. And so I'm going to take Andrade in this one. I just feel like Andrade's on a different level, and I think at strawweight, her power is more than almost any other strawweight. So I got Andrade in that one. We got veteran Clay Guida over in the co-main event against Claudia Puelles. Who you got in that one?
I'm going with the veteran, man, Clay Guida, man. Like I say, he won his last fight. Saying, he's on a swing, man. Like I say, he changed camps. He's doing a real good job lately. So I'm gonna rock with Clay Guida to get the job done. Keep his winning ways going.
I think his winning ways are kind of coming to an end. I'm taking Puelles in this one. I think he's gotten a bunch of big stoppages. Clay tends to lead with his face a lot more than he should. He takes a lot of damage and keeps going, but at some point that's got to stop. And I think this might be the 58 fights, 59 might be one too many. Because Puelles is on his way up. He's won a lot of good fights. So I like Paulos a lot. So that's it for picks for us this week. 8 picks is enough for me to continue expanding my lead on Brandon. But but I will draw a couple funny things about this card. For one, they needed a late second replacement for Romanov, right? They just cut Chase Sherman, and they brought him back for this fight. So he's got one more chance. He's going to be fighting Romanov, 15-0. The Bears undefeated. This dude, I don't know about you. Do you think Sherman stands a chance?
Hey man, it's
this
heavyweight.
Dude just mauls people.
There's always a chance with heavyweights.
That's true. But this dude's been mauling people. My girl Macy Barber's back in action against De La Rosa. That's gonna be a fun fight. I
really hope De La Rosa is gonna take her to the ground and strangle her.
I know you hate Macy Barber. That's my girl. And then
in the future, you know.
Then your boy Mike Jackson, who technically is 0-1. Because his fight with CM Punk was turned into a no contest, so now CM Punk's record is 0-1-1. Not 0-2. I don't think a lot of people even know that. He's fighting Dean Barry. I'm sure this is a situation where he probably had another fight left on his contract, and Dana's like not wanting to deal with it because of all the fallout from the no contest and the controversy over all that. So he's throwing him against Dean Barry, and Dean Barry's probably going to finish him off. But I don't know. We'll see what the Truth Jackson has in store. And then even Philippe Lin's down on the prelims, early prelims. So a lot of fun things. Anything else you're looking to on this card? Dwight Grant's on the card.
Yeah, man. Not to be honest with you, man. I'm really all thinking about that Bellator card this Saturday. That's really what I'm thinking about Saturday and Friday, man. Bellator. Like I said, I think just like last week, I think Bellator had the better fight card, and just like this week, I think on Saturday night, I think they have the better fight card as well. So I'm kind of really more thinking about that. But of course, I will be watching your girl Macy Barber getting strangled and mangled. You know, but other than that,
that's what you said against Miranda Maverick. What happened?
Hey, yo, MMA judging, baby, MMA judging. Get out here, full circle right there. I see what you did. You brought it back to MMA judging.
That's why I'm the host. Also, real quick, might be fight of the night. Venata versus Charles Jourdain. That's gonna be a fun fight. Fun fight. All right. Well, that's all our picks for this week. That was a lot to rumble through. Sorry for dragging this episode out. That's why we didn't do more segments. 8 picks. Your boy is gonna stay the lead dog. So take my picks, go to the bank. Not so sure about the Blencowe one. That might be more my heart speaking than my head. But at least I said it out loud. Like I put it out there, Brandon, so you can't give me shit on Saturday. Like, oh, what happened to your pick? Like I said, I might be wrong.
Hey, I like Blencowe as well. I'm a Blencowe fan. You know what I'm saying? If she wins, I would definitely be happy for her. But like I said, I got to go with Cyborg.
Yeah, and check out. She has an interview on the network with Dan over at Cage IQ before her last fight. So check that out. Very insightful. She's definitely one of those people who love to talk and engage. So good interview. And she's in her pajamas, so it helps right there too. So, because I think she was getting ready for weight cuts or something like that, or just came back from it or something. It was the night before her fight. And also shout out to her for doing that like right before her fight. So that was really cool of her. Other than that, make sure you check out FightersFirst.shop, get the Mechanic Collection, get the Art of MMA shirts. As you can see, it is pretty dope. It is on fire, literally. Got almost all the vintage. I think I got all the vintage 22 shirts up now. Just finished the Crossing Border ones put up there. Did the Kicking It, did the Slam Town. Kicking It one's fire. Kind of like a shout out to the Kickboxer movie poster a little bit, but switched it up a little bit because I wanted to be different. Yeah, that's pretty much it. Anything last words this week, Brandon?
Hey guys, just want to let you guys know if you guys tuned into Kicking It, you heard me make an announcement. But in case you guys don't, because you guys are MMA heads and not kickboxing heads, just wanted to keep you guys up, man. June 18th. I'm stepping back in the ring. Like I said, just June 18th, save the date. Hopefully, maybe in a week or two, I'll be giving out the full details, like, location, everything like that, how it is that you guys can watch it. But hey, just keep following us on the socials. I'll definitely post it out. So just remember, man, June 18th, the Mechanic stepping back in the ring. So you have time to get your merch. That way you can represent.
That's so nice of you to bless the B show with the ugliest co-host you have. With that news, I'm so honored, because I know Tim and you are like the best looking co-host on the network. I can't compete with that, but I do produce a pretty good show. So there you go. It's funny, during that show, I thought about just doing a splash on the screen and be like, this comment was not authorized by the network.
Oh, man.
Every time he says y'all are the best looking duo on the network. And I'm like, I'm not going to argue. There's a reason why I'm a different character every time we start the show. Because I know I got a voice for radio, face for radio. So I understand. But that's awesome. I'm hoping to get ready to see you back in the cage, or sorry, in the ring. I'd actually love to see you in the cage too. I think you'd be better, but I know kickboxing is your love. But that said, man, looking forward to June. Hopefully that details come out more soon and we can get some tickets and get some everything set up for that. Make sure you get his merch. Got that dope new Vintage 22 shirt honoring his debut at the Capitale. So check that out. But for the Mechanic, Brandon Cuttino, I'm Mike Ginn. Make sure you leave a comment, hit like, and subscribe. And until next week, this is Art of MMA. We're out.